enough of being cryptic. It feels so weird. So this is a very personal and close to home kind of album. This is something I've always done with original songs. I've always wanted to make a story around it. I've always wanted to make it as crazy as possible, vague enough for anybody to understand, but it holds its stature. I'd like to let you know what Heart of an Artist, to me, stands for. So we start off with the opening track, which is Descend into the Iris. 15 to 20 seconds, I believe it is, something like that. It's like a little introduction. But that is your open entry to something called the Iris. This is an homage reference to back in the day when I had an Onyx Colony album called The Encrypt, in which that was about your own mental asylum in your head. The many obstacles you have to go through when being admitted inside of this, the mental scars that you gain from it, but the lessons you learn. Heart of an Artist is pretty much like that. It's more or less of an asylum, but more so the eye of the beholder as a metaphor. Because you don't get to hear enough of what an artist goes through or a content creator goes through. There's a lot of hidden agendas, and especially for me. So the first track is obviously descending into the iris. You are being admitted into the eye of the beholder. So let's get on with the regular tracks. So we're coming with a scorcher, which is S.O.S, a recent song that I've been writing. And with S.O.S's cage, S.O.S to me is the feeling of being trapped inside a cage, and those who want to help you are actually provoking the cage by poking it. You're like a little circus animal, so to speak. The feeling of when no matter what you do and no matter what stages you're in terms of drama, people want to help you, but instead they provoke it further. And an SOS obviously is a call out. You know, you kind of want that help, you want that reaching hand, but you're desperately grabbing onto it in a point where you're losing hope. Draw the line in this case counteracts SOS in a sense where it's like, for the longest time you've sort of like built up all of this bottled up emotion and you just want to let it out. You kind of have to know where the line stands, and that's where you draw your line. You know exactly where it is in the sand. If anybody tries to provoke it, you are getting out of that cage and you are beating the crap out of that shit. But once you're out of the cage, the lights start to go out because you've started to show your true colors. You know, the things that you try and fake to everybody to say that you're fine, but you're not really fine, and all that shit. Anybody seeing you on stage would probably see you as a bright, sporadic person, but back end, it's never usually the case. That was a very emotional song to me. But with that, Kings and Queens starts to come into play. No matter how many times you hide your mask, no matter how many times in the back end you are at your lowest of low, there will be a point where you snap and you've had enough. You kind of want to tackle the world and become your own king and queen at the end of the day. Essentially forming your own crowd of kings and queens, for crying out loud. Nobody's the higher above. Then we go on to Why Do We Hold, which is one of those epic songs I seriously love Within Temptation and Nightwish, so a lot of inspiration went into that. It's more so a question. Despite everything you've gone through in terms of being beaten to a pulp, emotionally manipulated, all this stuff, why do we still hold on? It's a question that a lot of people ask. A lot of my social media groups have kind of contacted me just like, why do you even hang around these people? Unfortunately, with my case, I see a lot more positivity than the negativity. I try to look past it as much as possible because there's no grudges. I hate holding grudges. It just means another reason for that luggage, especially with how high up I am. They're gonna come back again, and I'd rather just hold on. I'd rather just make sure everybody's okay after a huge war. And it's not as if they're doing it intentionally. It goes back to SOS. They unintentionally do this stuff. That's why I see past it. So I may live to see the people who, you know, there can be dicks. Lost Now Found is one of those songs where, like, after all of the stuff that you've gone through, you kind of feel you need closure, but you haven't got it. You kind of just sat still, nothing. You're out of the way. And you don't know where to go, because with depression and with anxiety, it's really, really tough to get out of the rut that you're in. You're kind of lost. You don't know where to go. But there's always going to be that one person. There's going to be that one really special person that comes out and grabs the hand, helps you, gets you out of that rut. Lost Now Found. And love can be determined by relationship, friendships, co-workers. You know, you kind of set that boundary for yourself, whoever you choose. But then comes the song Too Dangerous. Those people that you got love from and the people who are cherishing you, they can be very dangerous. For those who have paranoia, for those who have anxiety, for those who have depression, it can be a very scarce thing. You kind of learn from my end how hard it has been to trust a lot of people. So in a sense, they can be too dangerous for you. Whatever was the light kind of gets betrayed by darkness in some way. And again, this is all unintentional stuff, but for somebody who suffers from this, it can really take a damper on them. So that's Too Dangerous. Castle That Never Dies is one of those songs that It's more of a story than it is a song. It's kind of an interlude to the last song. It's kind of like every single song that you've heard before Castle Never Dies are the big subject matters that you cover. Castle That Never Dies is the story of that refuse from the castle being crushed down, but ideally it's another reason to suggest that you can build that back up again. It's a castle that never dies. I mean, I have my own story, but Castle That Never Dies is vague enough to not only put my side across, but also demonstrate somebody else maybe being able to take that in their own way. With that song, it comes the final two songs, which is You're Just Making Us Stronger and Heart of an Artist. You're Just Making Us Stronger is literally every bit of speck and dust. You know, those people who have unintentionally and intentionally tried to bring you down. No matter what the case, you need to remind yourself, no matter how much they pummel you to the dirt, you are going to get stronger from this regardless. It just makes you more aware of the future. And then bam sham, in comes Heart of an Artist, which used to have some helding to it, but this is the reason why I write very vaguely. Originally, a lot of people thought this was to do with like the fandoms trying to bring me down, etc. But no, actually, it's a very different thing. It was more so the content creators, the people who really established themselves for business, and they took your moral compass in passion, and you know, all the passion projects that we do that tend to lose business, aka Brothers in Arms. Boom. I mean, you put enough passion into something, people can see it. And for the longest time, even before Brothers in Arms, people would judge my moral compass quite a lot. They'd kind of rip it apart and sometimes dismiss themselves from my life, and it kind of hurt. But now, because the story entails of Heart of an Artist, it still makes sense, because Heart of an Artist is the reflection of everything that's happened before that. The subject matter that you've had to overcome, everything is a little reflection. And Heart of an Artist, that is the true heart of an artist. It's not meant to be just about art. It's not supposed to be like drawings or movies or music. You know, art comes in human form too. We are spirits of our own art, and that forms the entire thing. And then finally the outro, which is Ascend from the Iris. It is now your time to leave the Iris. You've gone through your emotional state of shit, and now you're going back up. And finally, you're able to live your life. And who knows, you may have to come back to this again. It is a free and open door for anybody to listen to and make out their own interpretations. These are just my very own, but I make these songs for your own interpretation as well. But that's all I really have to say about Heart of an Artist. This is a true passion project of mine, and we are going full ham on it. I don't expect to gain profit. I don't expect to lose profit. This is one of those things where money doesn't matter. Heart of an Artist is my passion project, and I just really want to get it out there because it's my diary. It is my own diary, and I want everybody else to feel as well. I am getting kind of emotional right now, so... Because this is... I'm not kidding. This is like a fucking passion project for me. I love it. I don't smile often, but Heart of an Artist has done that for me, and I don't care if it's critical reception, like really bad reception or negatives. This is my passion project. Maybe the next album I'll start taking a bit more seriously, but this one's mine, and I'm so glad you guys get to hear that. Anyway, I'm gonna get going. I'm Will of DAgames. I hope you enjoy Heart of an Artist when it comes out. I'll speak to you guys very soon. Peace out!
Into the Iris. Time to get serious.
Locked in the gate, somebody help with this race. Instead of poking me with your knives on your broken life. Giving up on the job, I'm holding on to the shores. I didn't get my S.O.S. Save a life, but just another disguise to hide behind your jaded cadence. I'm so impatient, like the rules was revealed, but you just sealed the deal. Didn't get my S.O.S. in this mess, I can't lie. Stone cold in the middle of a circus, but the lights are all on you. Try to fake the smile, but the curtain draws on you. When the crowd begins to cheer, it's a sign that the end is drawing near, presenting the world when the lights go out. The tears fade right before their very eyes, but yours begin to shed. Fake it for a while, but the causing darkness dread. For behind each casting art is the image of a man who's torn apart, escaping the world when the lights go out. Fear not, I had descended before you even knew. I only told a mind of you. The smile you see, can't comprehend it, but I died too long ago. So every time I start the show, I drop the act and away I go. Stone throws for a friend with a message, but the message failed to send. Too many times I bailed, cause the show's about to end. Like an intermittent break, like a purgatory sending me to shake. I walk off the stage and the lights go out. You would have never believed me while smiling. You would have stopped to intrigue while I'm frowning. You would have helped just to shake it off, but it let me try. Maybe you're not supposed to know, but would it kill to just remind yourself I'm gone? I'm broken again as the lights go out. Fear not, I had descended before you even knew. I only told a mind of you. The smile you see, can't comprehend it, but I died too long ago. So every time I start the show, I drop the act and away I go. By the time you hear me cry, I'll have lost you through thousands of voices, all blinded by the sounds. No remorse for me is found, and I am not meant to be chained to the ground. I have no soul, have no goal, have no promises, yet the mask is in the way. So every time I take my leave, oh darkness please, oh just leave me be. Holding on for life, I can't let you know I'm alive. Fear not, I have descended before you even knew. I only told a mind of you. The smile you see, can't comprehend it, but I died too long ago. So every time I start the show, I drop the act and away I go. By the time this little number ends, I'm gone, and you can't cure my mind. One leg, one gun, and here's the man. One bliss, this heist was soon to be his, but little did he know he had enough of feeling like a criminal. These eyes on fire, so sick of the cry of a human mind had dropped the weapons and let it dry, regaining strength to free his life. As he dropped the gun and knife, he wrote these words with a broken pen. This time I'm coming back. This is the king of the crowd. As he holds up the crowd, there's no more looking down. Yeah, the brother's man comes back around. This is the point where he learned when his life took a turn. You never heard of a comeback like this. He's a fucking king. He's a fucking king. One more picture on the wall. Two more times to rise and fall. Three ways to harm without keeping calm. She has nothing more to lose in this game. In the dark hall of fame, her life was riddled to the shame. This girl was born and yet without knowing she stood up proud. She had enough of feeling mighty victimized. Relentless things to criticize. Her tears show lesser fears as she dropped the bullets and let it slide, regaining strength to free her life. As she dropped the gun and knife, she wrote these words with a broken pen. This time I'm coming back. This is the queen of the crowd. She holds up the crowd. There's no more looking down. Get up on his girl, comes back around. This is the point where she learned when her life took a turn. You never heard of a comeback like this. She's a fucking queen. As they hate their remorse, like a stallion on a horse, leading back and blue in the face of discourse, holding up higher and prouder than the shadows are born. Now the curse has been torn, now they're fighting a case against the dreaded masquerade. They had dealt their own cards tonight. When there's a will, there's a might, stronger than the night. They wrote these words in a broken pen. This time I'm coming back. They are the kings of the crowd. As they hold up the crowd, there's no more looking down. They're a whole new crowd that just trusts the crowd. This was the point where they learned as their lives took a turn. You never heard of a comeback like this. They're the fucking kings and queens. facing my fire, but you're too dangerous. One cost for your own personal gain. I suggest you stay back. I saw through the cause. You feed off my maximum. Your malice won't take me. My distance will save me. I walk alone, yeah, nobody hears me. Maybe I'm born to be all alone. My heart grows cold, was pacing my fire, but you're too dangerous.
In a time of tribulation, where the walls seem to have cracked and crumbled underneath you, what must you do for your kingdom when all you want to do is run and find help? You travel the darkened fields in search for an answer, but you're not alone. You find another castle crumbling and another ruler seeking for help. Lost within the gaze of a doppelganger identity, you seek to help rebuild each other's castle. But what happens when both parts intertwine too emotionally? Something you already had and felt strong having throughout the future, lost within the ideology of a brand new light. You infatuate yourself into this life, doing everything you can to keep it close to you, feeling like everything you had was dying and in desperate need of a bright new future. You find later down the line that what you sought was already there in front of you. But because of your infatuation with making somebody else's castle yours as well, you crumble the foundations of everything around you. Your henchmen, unsure of what to do, scatter across the field, becoming nothing more than a pack of wild boar, not sure what their prey is. Your counselors, giving you the very thing you needed to stay strong, but at the end of the day, did you really want to be proven wrong again? Your ideology of making things right set you on an egocentric adventure to try and rectify this yourself. But when you know your light has been jaded, do you really know where the right way is deep down? You meet at a crossing point where everyone around you is trying to fix things without their ruler, creating a new empire for themselves, but can only find so much wrong with it when they realize they were the very thing that kept the castle going. They run in aid in a desperate persistence to get you back to your kingdom to rule again. But so much has happened. Eventually, two sides are now fighting over you. Which castle do you take? Which is right and which is wrong? A war begins to erupt, every side in a vicious circle pit, and you're the toy kicked around. Suddenly, you flee. You run to the farthest ends of the world to seek your own choices. Believing you had finally escaped, you found a magical lake. A spirit emerges. But it isn't scary, because that spirit is you. Trying to talk to yourself, trying to find the things that went wrong, the things that went right. Oh, how you yearn for your life to be back the way it used to be, where your kingdom stood tall, and in the event of your bricks crumbling, acting upon this as quickly as possible, instead of running for an unpursuable dream. The realization, the epiphany, the very things around you already building back the past for themselves. You are given the most powerful sword you've ever seen. A magical weapon that when pushed into the ground and into the belly of the beast, turns everything back to the way it was. Your kingdoms are stronger again, but everything that you ever learned about the future stays with you. What does this mean to you, fellow traveler? It means don't take anything that fills you with peace for granted. If a dark shadow is emerging over this once peaceful land, cast it away with everything you've got. Try to fix it instead of destroy it. Don't let yourself get caught up in somebody else's life when you have your very own to live. When greeted to a new life when your own was very fine, learn to negate it and stay true and loyal to your journey. No matter what shadow comes over you, and no matter what peace you find, never go through life regretting a single thing. Your book is your own, and if written the right way, can be the very thing that makes you interesting to read. Every warrior has their scars, but it takes actions with those scars to rectify their entire existence. What can you do with your scars? Rebuild this castle that never dies.
Right from my secrets I am ended. I defended my immortal plan. My eternal grace will live through these bridges burn. We have begun to live. The comments that you bring me Get your cards on the display, rip it up in your face. They take you like a remote and control your fate. You can't take it and the heat starts to tackle your heart. But they don't care about the songs, they just want you to fall apart. So stand up, let them know how you really feel. How can they push if they don't know how to take the step? As you rise from your heels and they leave just like you away. I don't fucking need you anymore. Wave goodbye to the shore. Take the cuffs off and bleed new life. Take it from the man who denied as they tried to survive. But the enemy began to ignite. The rays written on the walls. They can't stop me when I call. This is the heart of an artist. You give them art made of gold, but they slice it down within place. They take it back to the hive and eradicate. You feel beaten when they shriek, so you break down and cry. But they will fight because they use and abuse you from the start. So stand up, let them know you will not be swayed. How can they know how you feel when they don't appreciate? As they rise from your heels and they leave just like you away. I don't fucking need you anymore. Wave goodbye to the shore. Take the cuffs off and bleed new life. Take it from the man who denied as they tried to survive. But the enemy began to ignite. The rays written on the walls. They can't stop me when I call. This is the heart of an artist. Hold on, onto your heart. Don't let them take it from you. Just reignite what was your life.
In my heart, I grieve for the artists I believe to be sent down from the sky, only to be met with shadows that hidden in the meadows, poison in all of the rye. Maybe we can meet in the middle, enough with the riddles. Treat them as they would treat you. They came to help our souls deliver a smile through the tools. Isn't that what you would do?
I don't fucking need you anymore. Wave goodbye to the shore. Take the cuffs off and bleed new life. Take it from the man who denied as they tried to survive. But the enemy began to ignite. Rustin takes the charge from the core, so we shall fuck them all. Make them know that you're not pushed around. Let them know that you are divine. Keep it Christ in mind and speak it for the other side. The rays written on the walls. They can't stop me when I call. This is the heart of an artist.
climb is by being brought back down again. Such is the day we finally ascend from the iris.
The eye of the beholder will always see a different shade of green in this field of gold. For what we see is but a selfish perspective, the very thing that makes us not see eye to eye. The scrolls tell us of a time eons ago that lived two worlds connected in the galaxy, so close and yet so far. A bridge made of ether, strongest ancient element on the planet. There lives Earth, a rich land filled with mindless puppets. Then, the depths, a volcanic world, home to a colony that brings balance to the Earth. Light has never existed without darkness, just as it is on the other foot. For years there had been balance. The depths were responsible for bringing darkness to a world of light where it was needed. In the depths held the most powerful element in existence, an emblem so beautiful, shimmering, and yet so unbearably powerful. They call it the Iris. Some say they have descended into its divine wisdom, the images it preserved for centuries, and have never lived to tell the tale, nor have they lived to ascend again. It is the very key that possesses your memories, their memories, and opens up a world of punishment and redemption. The power of this emblem does not come without consequences, nor does it come without reward. For those who are able to harness its power will have an unholy level of knowledge. The world would be your toy, and you would be its master. Everything that ever happened, is happening, or is yet to happen, will become yours to see. They say only one such being can harness and tame its uncontrollable matrix. It has been locked in the sky of the depths, to stay there for an eternity, and to oversee the balance this colony brings to Earth. Somebody one day will hold it, and the depths has only one hope, that the beholder can control themselves. The power it contains is not to be used irresponsibly, for it will shatter the existence of this galaxy as we speak. Guarding the Iris are two brave kings and queens of the depths. The colony's ruler, Tyrant, with his trusty Havoc scythe, and by his side, Lady Fate, with her Omen glass. The two swore to protect this land, control the colony, and bring balance to the bridge that connects them to Earth. However, there are darker matters in the universe which cannot be contained by just the Iris alone. An asylum was made, entirely out of the very ground they walk on, a cursed stronghold called the Encrypt, where all of humanity's biggest nightmares are held. Guarding the gates of the Encrypt is the only one supposedly strong enough to withstand such pain this asylum bleeds. Our main protagonist in this age-old tale, who goes only by one name, Goliath. Word spreads he is the Omen child Lady Fate and Tyrant weren't planning on having, a freak accident after trying to form a united family. This one-man army has withstood many a test of time with the Encrypt, as well as threats to the depths. As for the Onyx colony themselves, with their skeletal mesh, glowing lantern eyes, and collapsing veins able to shapeshift dangling from their ligaments, their allegiance is with Tyrant. This makes it all the harder for Goliath to unlock his true potential. Nightmares stay, darkness leaves, balance is in order. Or so they thought. Planet Earth, abused and ignorant. It's been this way since life began. But this isn't the world of today, young traveler. For this is merely part of one of our vicious cycles eons ago. Technology's materials existed way before your time, and with it, the darkest ages occurred, much like your world today. There too lived ancient ritualists, hibernating in the forests, seeking out a new life away from the deadly curse that plagued Earth. The tribe's leader, Jebediah Dunford, resided on the outskirts of their tribe, hidden further away into the woods, living in a large wooden cabin. With this native tribe's way of life, nature was their core. For every tree that is cut down, 2 more must grow before them. Their own colony had overgrown and passed the line that separates the government and them. This was about to anger the government more than they knew. Their land was in grave danger. The world became tired of their heritage, their invasion of the land, and largely prophesized gossip. This tribe has been trying to convince the world that a larger reckoning is coming, and Earth is cursed to live a life with scripted darkness. They're about to be mowed down. Any resistance meant the people who inhabit the tribe will also die alongside the demolition. Families doomed to share bloodshed. Innocent lives burdened with the cruel fate they were about to bring. Suddenly, a large and strange object crash-landed 5 miles outside their tribe. Everyone runs to the flames. The fog eventually faded to reveal a new crater caused by the collision. This material was ether. The bridge has been growing weaker since its creation. The galaxy is turning a new leaf, and the bridge only had a matter of time before it needed to be restored. The tribe's fate was about to be tested. Swarms of army squadrons infiltrating the tribe. The bang of flash bombs, the screams of army soldiers being ordered to move in, hold their fire, and wait for their next command. From the distance reveals a silhouette walking towards the crater. Jebediah is shocked to discover it's none other than the very being that rules over this planet. Abram Valentine. He approaches Jebediah with an impatient smirk on his face. He is told of the ether boulder. He stood still, shocked at this discovery. Alas, he felt the need to take credit for another man's hard work. Abram cackles, becoming impatient. Behind the laughter is the embodiment of an angry beast. Jebediah proudly fronts to protect the boulder and their land. Silence seeps through the air for a brief minute. Abram's smile growing wider and ghastlier. He reaches into his pocket, still laughing uncontrollably. The tribesmen had sensed happiness finally. Their message was heard. Abram finally pulls out his hand from his pocket. A large black and red pistol with a silencer is revealed, as he slowly points towards Jebediah's head. "I'll give your thanks to my rolling grave," whispers Abram. Moments later, a large bang is heard, right between the eyes. Poor Jebediah is shot dead. He slumps to the ground in his own pool of blood as it leaks closer to the family watching. Shrieks of innocent people are heard, children crying in fear, adults running for their lives. Things started to become a bloodbath. With tears down his eyes, he commands his crew to retrieve the boulder of ether and destroy the tribe. Abram and his army made retreat back to the main base of operations, a large building of titanium, retina scanners, a giant building composed of 3 thick walls that protrude outwards, large surveillance systems surrounding the exterior and interior, all with armed turrets to attack anything unauthorized on sight. Guarded by 10,000 squadron soldiers, each with different rankings, this was the fortress of everything that ruled over Earth and its people, supposedly to protect them. This building was to be named the Domeplex. Inside this colossal infrastructure held several lab facilities, biochemical quarters, tech stations, and an oracle treasury where all the world's money is protected and all of the many strange inhabitants from centuries of preservation. After much discovery, the science rats had made discoveries about the ether material. They discovered its material is a stronghold guard to the other side, or for what we know, the depths. The prophecies were true. Another world about to bring a reckoning to Earth. The scientists believe this to be true. They find sightings of an iris-like emblem. They predicted the emblem to be the key for opening gates to other universes. Though they had no proper dimensions to reference the iris, Abram had even bigger plans. Instead of retrieving the iris, they'll create a new one. Several months go by. The boulder has been carved to its core. The material glows and erupts a destructive carnage in the lab. It is revealed they have made a replica emblem. Among the fog revealed a gate opening. The bridge can be seen in the distance, leading to the depths. This discovery gave Abram a sparkle in his eyes. The plan has been set. Surround the depths and destroy everything. When asked what to call the emblem, they decided to go with none other than the Demetrix. They proceed with their plan. Suddenly, the fake emblem opens up the gate to the other side. The depths is now compromised. However, the emblem had other plans that Earth never could have predicted. An unprecedented amount of power cloned the Iris's divine essence. The Onyx colony below bows before a new king. They've been hypnotized. They believe the Demetrix is their true emblem. They now only have one mission: kill the Protectors. They suddenly turn on Tyrant and Fate, knocking down the castle walls and pinning them down while stealing their souls. A large shriek is heard in the distance. Suddenly, Goliath hears the echo. Shocked by what he heard, he sprinted to the castle, took down the horde. They lay helpless on their last legs. The Goliath kneels down to them, as they say in their last dying breaths how proud they are of him for growing up so much. The Iris is now unprotected. The two tell Goliath to grab the emblem and close the gates with it. He was to be the chosen one. Finally, after Fate sings a soft lullaby to her son, Tyrant proudly whispers, "I love you, son." They perish. Goliath, now riddled with anger and rage, runs towards the emblem, grabs it from the sky, lunges straight into the gate. But as he attempts to close it off, suddenly, a flash of white waves through the planets. The gate is shut. The light faded, and left behind nothing but rubble. The depths was no more than a graveyard. No survivors, no hope left. Nobody but one man had survived the blow. That man, our protagonist, Goliath. But not how he used to be. He is now but skull and bones. You couldn't recognize him. This realization gets him to pat down his body. He touches his face. There's a strange engraving in his right eye. He runs to the lake and discovers the Iris emblem had merged with his body. Ether particles lay surrounding him. Suddenly, 2 slithers of ether move toward him. They lunge onto his back, grow larger than ever before. Their fangs erupt and eyes glow a glaring red. Their spines are their skin. Behold, the ether snakes. They inject him with a large essence of venom. Struggling in panic, he somehow stays alive, and yet stronger at the same time. Something tells him those new pets of his knew more than he did. With so many questions, our adventure begins for Goliath to find himself, what happened before the explosion, how he will one day save his own world and restore the depths forever. This is our age-old tale of Iris.
It's a sign that the end is drawing near, presenting the world as the lights go out. The tears fade right before their very eyes, but yours begins to shed. Fake it for a while, but the cause in darkness rests. For behind each casting heart is the image called the man who's torn apart, escaping the world as the lights go out. Fear not, I have descended but the message failed to send. Too many times I failed, cause the show's about to end. Like an intermittent break, like a purgatory sending me to shake. I walk off the stage as the lights go out. Ooh, you would have never believed me while smiling. You would have stopped to intrigue while I'm frowning. You would have helped just to shake it up, but it let me try. Maybe you're not supposed to know, but would it kill to just remind yourself I'm gone? I'm broken again. As the lights go out. Fear not, I have decided before you even knew. I've only torn a mind of you. Smile, you say, can't help but break it, for I died too long ago. So every time I start the show, I drop the act and away I go. By the time you hear me cry, I'll have lost you through thousands of voices, all blinded by the sounds. No remorse for me is found, and I am not meant to be chained to the ground. I have no soul, have no goal, have no promises, yet the mask is in the way. So every time I take my leave, oh darkness, please don't just leave me be. Holding on for life, I can't let you know I'm alive. Fear not, I have decided before you even knew. I've only told a mind of you. Smile, you say, can't help but break it, for I died too long ago. So every time I start the show, I'm dropping out and away I go. By the time this little number ends, I'm gone, and you can't cure my mind.